Good morning. It's Tuesday and welcome to Sabba's Way of Life. So today I am going to share with you what I do immediately I know I'm coming down with a cold, or even when I don't know, but it hits me, and then what I do immediately. And this is very, very, very powerful. And then I'm going to share some knowledge that I have gained over the years with you on healing. I've talked a lot about healing. So let me first explain. 2 or 3 days ago, I was out in my garden. I did a really short, wonderful video on healing out in the garden. And for those of you who are following each video one by one, which is important for you to get a bigger picture of what I am about and to benefit from my knowledge that you can take action. This is really important because you start forming a big picture. It all starts fitting together like a puzzle. You will remember that I shared with you what was going on up in the sky. And I talked about geoengineering, and I suggested, and in the notes below, I suggested that you do your own research on it. I will talk about it in more detail another time. There's just so much to discuss. Now, I knew, this is just from my own research, you don't have to believe me. That's irrelevant to me. I'm sharing what I know with you. I knew that it was chemical seeding, I call it, going on upstairs, and that it was very probable that within the next day or two, 48 hours, it would start raining, it would be windy, because then all of that would come down and affect us, because that is the design. Anyway, sure enough, beautiful weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then on Monday, the wind, it was gale force here. I am exaggerating a tiny bit, but literally I was being blown away. Rain was coming down, and there was also hailstones at one point because I'm outside a lot. The other thing that had happened is that out of the blue, and this is yesterday, I was fine one day, and then in the morning, yesterday morning, I'm up very early. I'd actually gone out to do some shopping, and it was barely 9:30 when I got back, and bang, I was down. My head was spinning. I started to sneeze, but aside from all the sneezing, I couldn't breathe properly. There was this dullness in my mind, like some kind of toxin, neurotoxin had entered. Well, it had, and I knew what it was. And I had a conversation with somebody in the family, the wider part of my family in the past, who called me, and I explained this to him, and he himself, his entire career was a commercial pilot. And I spoke to him, and he said to me, "Oh, you've been seeded. We had that up here." He's up in the north in Scotland. He said, "We had this up here last month, and everybody was down with this cold that you say you have." So we know there's so much information out there if you choose to stay away from a mainstream media and do your own research. He would know better than anyone because he was up in the air all the time for 20, 30, 40 years. Now, so that's the backdrop behind what I'm saying. And this is what I did. Look at me now. I'm much, much better, although not. Immediately that happens. This is how I think, right? About how one thinks. I know immediately that my immune system and my brain is being attacked. Now, it could hit anyone. If it doesn't hit you, great. If it does hit you, it does. It's how you deal with it. It's a good thing. I've always mentioned, and I've done the readings, that when disease hits you, any form of unease or dis-ease hits you, it's a sign that your body is saying, whoa, you've got to deal with it and do something about it. Now, I know that at the very first sign of anything like this, a symptom is coming out as a cold. It might have been in my brain for a couple of days, but I'm generally very healthy, so it hadn't hit me. I know I've got to do something about it fast. And this is what I did because it works for me. And I understand what these compounds are in these ingredients. So you've got garlic. Remember, these symptoms are that of a kind of cold symptom. You've got garlic. So always keep garlic and always keep ginger in your home. You should be cooking with it every day, especially if you're from my ethnic background, because it's in our genes. These are medicines. And I'm not here to talk about how they're produced right now. That's another story. Keep ginger and garlic. So what I did, I immediately took a whole clove of ginger, peeled it, my pestle and mortar, you can see it behind, over there, and I crushed the entire bulb of ginger and garlic. Now, it's not easy to put raw garlic in your mouth. It would probably make you belch, and yeah, I couldn't do it. But I had some leftover halim from last week, and it was nice and cold in the fridge, and I gave it a good heat up, and I took this crushed garlic and I put it all in there. You can actually heat it slightly in some butter or ghee and put it on a slice of bread, but it's not going to be pleasant if you're not used to it, but it works. I'll explain why in a minute. So I put that inside and heated it up, put loads of onions in ghee, and because I understand the properties of onions, especially when it comes to breathing, the sulfur compounds in there are a very strong decongestion and much more than that. And I heated it all up and I sliced up small juliennes of ginger, put that in there as well, and then I ate the whole bowl, which was like a thick gruel soup. It was absolutely delicious. I was lucky I had some left over. The next thing I did is vitamin C. Now, I have talked about this in a previous video. Again, go back and listen to all of them. The only supplement that I take, and that's not on a daily basis, although perhaps it should be these days with what's going on, is vitamin C. I'm not here to talk about which one, do your own research, but I like to use a powdered vitamin C because it gets into my bloodstream very quickly. It's difficult to overdose on vitamin C in a negative way because you'll just poop it out. So the daily dose of vitamin C that you read is all absolute BS. You should be having 10,000 milligrams a day, which is a lot. You're probably not used to it, so you've got to start and up it. One thing I've ensured that my elderly parents do is take vitamin C every single day, and I've drummed it into them, and well, they're in good health. I'm not suggesting it's just that, but it's part of an everyday way of life. So I did that. So I heated the water, made sure it wasn't too hot, put the vitamin C in, and then I put some raw honey in there when it had slightly cooled down, because you don't use raw honey in very hot water, because you kill all the beneficial bacteria, the whole point of the honey. And then I drank that. It was a bit sour, but I drank that, and I've been having vitamin C every day, 10,000 milligrams a day. Well, when I say every day, just yesterday, but I will have it for the next week in that dose. And then the next thing is rest. I kept my airways warm. I understand the importance of keeping the airways warm to kill off all the bacteria in there. So not cold drinks, or if I had a cold drink, I would have to have something hot straight away. Now, I know not everybody can rest, but you should. I did not take any medication because, not that I'm against a paracetamol or an aspirin, I am totally anti all those other rubbish that they give you because they destroy immune system and health. But the natural, the older style paracetamol and aspirin, if it works for you, I'm not against that. But what they do is they subdue the symptoms. And I want the symptoms to manifest so that I understand what's happening to me and so that I can rest. Now, here's the other thing. A lot of people say, guess what? I never get ill. Oh, I'm fine. And I look, do your homework. illness is not something to hide from. It is a blessing when a symptom appears so that you can deal with it. For example, when you have a cold or something like this, the body starts to heat up and you have a temperature. And what do? Immediately we think of crisis. It's a crisis, let's get rid of it. And we take something to subdue the symptoms so that you're not aware of what's going on. The body needs to heat up. That's why you've got a temperature. It's heating up, so it's naturally healing and getting rid of whatever the problem is in virus, bacteria inside you. If you're trying to subdue it, you're not allowing it to do its work. The only danger with a very high temperature is that you don't want it to heat the head too much, which is why you'll see in old films, you keep the head cool. Cold water, ice water, keep the head cool if it's a very high temperature. But you let the body sweat out the disease. And it shows that your entire immune system and body is working because it's working to heal. Your blood is circulating, it's heating up. You're a human that works. There's a fantastic book I've read, and I can't remember the name. I did a whole reading on it in a group that I ran 2 years ago. But it's written by Cellular Awakening. It's written by Barbara Wren, a fantastic nurse who her understanding of homeopathy and diseases is extraordinary. And she discussed how so many people with diseases such as MS, multiple sclerosis, or other diseases like lupus and similar ones where the body just doesn't want to move, it can't move, everything just stops working, is because the body doesn't have an ability to heat up. These people never catch a cold because their body cannot heat up. The circulation is dead. That is dangerous. There's a rigidity there that it will manifest. That's why they can't move. I said it's always psychosomatic. So those of you who do catch colds, I'm not talking about regularly catch colds where you're constantly unwell. That's something to also address. That shouldn't be happening. But when something like this happens, I catch it's a frequency. It's you can't catch a cold. Bugs don't fly from one person to another. It's the frequency, the electrical frequency of dis-ease that the human being attracts by being around people, or even just in the atmosphere, like what happened to me. There's no one around me who's unwell. So I catch a really a disastrous flu once a year, normally December, January time, but I welcome it. Not always, but often it has been the case. But my immune system is working, and now it's creating more and more soldiers inside me so that I'm ready for the following year to come. Look at it as a benefit. Oh, it's always how you see things. Now look at me today. I'm no more sneezing. I'm so much better. I rested completely yesterday. I did not go out and do anything. Well, the weather was awful anyway. I just did nothing. And I slept where I could. I watched some educational videos, and that's all I did. And I drank lots of tea. The tea I make is with water. It's a masala chai. Again, it's a healing medicine. Water heated up with lots of crushed ginger in it. I put cinnamon in, I put cardamom pods in, and I just leave it on a low heat. And then once it's really kind of reducing and you can smell the ginger and the cinnamon, then I'll add a tea bag or loose tea. In my case, I add loose tea. Then I add milk. I love milk. I drink a lot of milk. Then I add milk, a little bit of sugar. I use jaggery, and I've actually brought it here. It's called gur. This is the sugar that I buy, and I get it from the local Indian shop, which is imported from India, and it's whole molasses. Of course, it's been processed. You can look. I can just look. It's very crumbly. It's really actually quite nice. I can tell you a story about the agricultural workers in India and what they had for breakfast. So I put a little bit of jaggery in, and then milk, and then I drink that, and it's hot. It heats up this. Cinnamon heats up the body. Let me just tell you now and share with you what the benefits are of garlic. Garlic contains organic sulfur compounds. It contains minerals, manganese, zinc, selenium, quercetin. It contains vitamins A, C, B1, B2, B6. It's an antifungal. It's an antibacterial. It's an antiviral, an anti-inflammatory, and a natural antibiotic. Ginger. It's a mucus breaker, so great for colds. Fights inflammation. It heats the body. Ginger has heating qualities. That's what you want. It also calms the intestinal tract. It's a great gut flush. I can talk about that with you another time. And then the other thing, I always like to share a publication. This man is unbelievable. This is Dr. It's just gone out of Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. This is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. In 2020, I took his online systems biology course, and he is an incredible scientist. Look him up. I've read most of this book, not all of it, but I'm going back to it now. And a lot of what I've learned, especially during 2020, you all know what happened then. I learned a lot from him, and I helped a lot of people who were willing to listen as to how they should heal their symptoms at that time. But you've got to look him up. The man is a genius, and of course, he's being censored on a lot of platforms. He still is. He's very forthright, makes his point loud. But that's what I love about him, because he's very passionate about his work. So look him up. I'll put some more notes down below, and I'm probably going to have another half a day of rest. And if the sun comes out later, it is a descending moon. It's a leaf day. So I'm going to be dealing with all the leaf vegetables out in the garden, and I may even mow the lawn and do some work on sowing some more grass seeds and preparing the soil. But I've got to be careful that I don't overdo it, because it takes time to heal from any kind of dis-ease. But the immune system is definitely working. So have a lovely day. The sun is coming out, so I'm already feeling good, and hope to speak to you tomorrow.